Okay, hey, the 2022 NFL season's fast approaching. The preseason's underway, baby. We're watching games. There's some games on tonight. The final roster cuts are coming up. They got to trim it down. Welcome to the August 17th Father, Son, and Holy Sport weekly NFL podcast. I'm G-Man from Ohio. That's my man T-Money out there in Cali, baby, bringing the sun and the fun to us out here. What's up, T?
What's going on, man? It's finally time. Got fantasy football on the show today. It's going to be a great time. We kick big bets off next week. It's getting to that time of year. We're getting closer and closer to that kickoff, and that's all we care about.
Yeah. We got the NFL rundown coming to y'all. We got the Chug and Chant. We got Cousin Randy now extended the team, the father-son team. Cousin Randy doing our Chug and Chant. We got a fantasy show with a guest coming on for you, talking about the rookies coming up. Hey, it's going to be a great show. Do us a favor, press the like and subscribe. We appreciate your support, and look for a name on all the platforms at Father, Son, and Holy Sport. Hey, let's go to the NFL Rundown. T-Money, this week on the NFL Rundown, we're going to focus on the AFC. We're going to predict each of the four division winners and tell you who's going to come in last in each of those four divisions. So yeah, let's kick it off, man. Let's go to the AFC East. Let's get this rolling. And what do you see there in terms of who's going to win that AFC East?
This might be the easiest to pick of all the divisions. It is head and shoulders Buffalo. They were 11-6 last year, and I think that was underperforming. I think they could easily win 13 games, maybe 14. They should be the number one seed overall in the AFC. Their team, they have the number one defense in football. Their passing attack's just going to get better. I love James Cook as an addition at the running back spot. I think they have everything going for them. It should be no questions that Buffalo is going to win this division.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I hope we don't all pick the same. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Bills favored to win that AFC East. They could probably beat last year's win total of 11. They had 11 last year. They could probably beat that. Josh Allen is pretty much on par with Patrick Mahomes now in terms of total package. So, hey, man, Brian Dable is left. So they lost him, but you still got Josh Allen. They got some great targets out there with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. That offense is going to be killer, man.
I agree.
So I like the Bills too to win that division. I'm going to pick in terms of the last place thing. Then I'll switch to you. In terms of last, I mean, we got to go Jets. Jets were clearly the worst team last year. Now we got Zach Wilson hurt. Yeah, he might make it back for that first game, but with or without Wilson, they're still going to have a tough time. I'm not totally sold on Saleh as the coach. I mean, I don't know who's going to get chopped first if they don't win. Is it Wilson or is it Robert Saleh? I don't know, but I think they're going to be in trouble either way.
Yep. I tend to lean here with you into the Jets, especially with Zach Wilson hurting his knee in the preseason. If they start slow, there's no getting fast for them. Like, they're going to be lucky to get more than 4 wins is what they got last year. But hey, they have a really good offense. They have a lot of good weapons. Mekhi Becton went down, so their left tackle is now out for the season, which is never good. And who knows about their defense? That's what Rob Saul is supposed to be good at, and that's bad. But I'll just throw this out here. I know it's crazy. I can see the Patriots being last in this division.
Oh, please. Please.
I mean, I cannot talk about how low I am on this team. There's zero talent everywhere. There's no talent. So I'm not high on the Patriots at all. Like, they might beat the Jets by one win to get third in the division. Like, I'm not high on them at all.
New England made the playoffs last year. They won 10 games. Mac Jones has another year behind them. I got to think they're going to be kind of in that ballpark again, man. I think if they're staple. You can count on this team. I think they're going to come through again, man. Let's go on to the AFC North. AFC North, Team Money, we'll kick it off with you. Do it the same way. Cincinnati won it last year. What are you seeing this year?
I got the Ravens.
Whoa, going Ravens!
They were 8-9. Okay, they were 8-9 last year, and they
going
were
against your blood, man.
I love the Bengals. I hope they win every game. But this Ravens team had a great draft. And I think those 2 draft picks in the first round are going to have immediate impact. Who cares about losing Marquise Brown? They're not a passing team anyways. I think Lamar needs to go back to putting run first, right? He wanted to prove last year he was a passer, and they were still, I believe, 8-2 or 8-3 and the number 1 seed in the AFC through more than a half of the season. And then everyone got hurt and Lamar got hurt. I'm high on this team. I think the Ravens can make a deep playoff run. I think they would have had a chance at the number 1 seed if they weren't in one of the hardest divisions in football. But I think the Ravens should win this. I think they're the most talented team at all positions. And they have a quarterback who maybe hadn't been to a Super Bowl yet, but he's won a league MVP. And no one else in this division can say that.
Yeah. Well, they got the defense. They got Lamar. You know, those running back can stay healthy. Remember, they had all those injuries last year. Running back that really hurt them. So the running game, can they get that going with those guys? And the passing game with Lamar, that's just a big question for me. But I think they're up there too, and they make the playoffs. But I don't think they beat the Bengals. I got the Bengals coming out of this one again. This is Joe Burrow, man. Joe Burrow and this offense, they improved the offensive line. The offensive line is better. And they got all those weapons, man. And they have Joe Mixon running the ball, catching the ball. I just think that offense is unstoppable. 10-7 last year. They had the best offense by far in the AFC North. And I think they're going to have it again. That defense has holes.
Yeah,
it might
that's
cost
my
them
concern.
a couple games. But I think Joe Burrow coming down the stretch in the fourth quarter, 31-30, he's going to be in that game. I'm going Bengals to win that. Last place, I'm going to go Browns. I kind of struggled with them or the Steelers on this last spot, but I think the Steelers are just going to find a way with their pedigree to stay out of the basement. I'm going last place on the Browns. No Deshaun, no Winnies, baby. No Winnies, no Deshaun.
Yeah, no. I am very torn on this because I think if Deshaun played the whole season, I would go with the Steelers just because Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky are clearly the worst quarterbacks in that division.
I agree with that.
I think Deshaun's going to end up having more than the 6 games he has right now. And if that goes to even 8 games, they're done, right? They have a phenomenal run game, but their defense isn't as good as the Steelers. The Steelers might have just as good as a running back, right? They have just as good receivers. So give me the Steelers to finish third and the Browns to finish last. I'm on the same page as UG, mainly because Deshaun is too good to lose. And that offense is going to go stale only running the ball. And that defense isn't quite there yet. It's not Steelers level. It's not Ravens level defense. So I just think the Browns can't lose Deshaun for 6 to 8 games and think that they're going to win a lot of games in this division. I'm sorry.
Joey Burrow, you see my hat, Joey Burrow? You see my hat, Joey? Come on, man. Hey, that we're halfway through the AFC predictions. T-Money and I predicting the AFC division winners. Next week, we're going to do the NFC, so stay tuned next week. And now we're going to roll on to the AFC South. AFC South, last year the Titans won the AFC South. T-Money, what do you see in there in terms of the AFC South?
I got the Colts, man. I'm pretty strong on this one. I really like what Matt Ryan can bring to the Colts in terms of leadership and accuracy and experience. I think he's going to be able to audible into great things. I think he's not going to make a lot of dumb decisions. I think the biggest thing is completing accurate throws. I believe in accuracy, completion rate, on targeted throws. I know it's a very specific stat. Carson Wentz was in the bottom, about 27th. And Matt Ryan, even with that bad team last year in Atlanta, I believe was 9th. So just a complete jump in accuracy, not completion percentage, but accuracy on balls down the field. Matt Ryan's going to jump this team up to another level. I love their run game. I love their O-line. The receivers could use a little bit of work, but what are you going to do? That defense with that DeForest Buckner, Darius Leonard. I really like everything about this team in a very weak-ish division. Tennessee's vulnerable. Houston, who knows? Jacksonville, who knows? I like the Colts a lot in this division.
Hey, man, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going Titans to win again. Titans take out the Colts to win this division again. It's between the two of them. I like the Colts. I can see why you picked them. I think they'll make the playoffs this year, but Titans are now the new New England Patriots. Vrabel's old school. He's a Patriots type of approach, defense, run the ball. They got Derrick Henry. They're tough to beat down the stretch because they grind you, man.
Yeah.
They grind you down. I think they both have good defenses. The Titans are just meaner, and it's because of their coach. I like Vrabel better than Frank Reich. Frank Reich is too nice of a guy. He doesn't get the fire going. Vrabel will come at you. Frank Reich's kind of, having a milkshake. He's just not getting the fire going. And if Matt Ryan doesn't get it going, and that's a kind of a risk, Matt Ryan is a risk. Matt Ryan could be great, but he also could be bad.
Yeah.
For that reason, I'm going for the sure thing, man. I'm going Titans first. Last place on that one. I think the Jags are going to get better. Not a ton better, but they'll get better. Last place will be the Texans. Okay, Davis Mills, he was a good bright spot there for him, but this team has no stars. They have no one to build around. They got all these guys that are kind of average, and that Lovie Smith, who's respected, but he has not led a winning team since 2012. 2012 was the last time he coached a winning team. I just don't see the Texans getting much better.
Totally agree. Texans are last. Like you said, who on that team pops? I don't know if anyone on that team other than Brandon Cooks could go to another team and start. I just don't know.
Be an all-pro.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So Houston Texans, you're going to be last. I think they were lucky to win 4 games last year.
Let's go to the AFC West, and who you think's going to win that? AFC West last year was the Chiefs, 12-5. They got this. A lot of excitement around the AFC West, man. We're saving that for last. Anything could happen. We all know that. What do you see happening? Who's going to win it?
Well, it's the best division in football for sure. And all these teams are playoff teams. Obviously, Raiders made it last year. Broncos got so much better. I love the Chargers. I think. Oh,
I knew you were going Chargers.
I love the Chargers. Okay, I'm all in on the Chargers, surprising everyone this year. But no, I'm going Chiefs. I'm sorry, G. I'm sorry. I think the Chargers could be the 2 seed and the Chiefs could be the freaking 1 seed. I just think the Chiefs are too good. They now have one of, if not the best offensive line in football. Travis Kelce's great, but I think their weapons are complementary enough with Skye Moore, Juju, and MVS to be stable there. I loved the Justin Ross pickup from Clemson, but he's out for the year, I guess. Very injury-prone receiver. But I think Kansas City's just too good. Andy Reid's too good. I think the defense is actually going to be better. They made a lot of smart moves this offseason. I like Kansas City. I'm not worried about losing Tyreek Hill. So they're going to win the division. They've won 6 straight years. Kansas City has. I just don't see how they lose its division. They're too talented, and Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football.
I agree. I think Chiefs will win it. It's really tight, though. This division's tight.
Yeah.
Chiefs had 12 wins last year. I think they probably get 11. They're coming back to the pack, and this is going to be tight. But Mahomes and Andy Reid together, these guys are just something else. And Travis Kelce is just money down the stretch. I mean, he's going to get more catches. They're going to feed him. I just think this team on offense is great. I have questions on their defense again. They had holes last year on defense. You're right. They did shore it up a little. They got some rookies that are good. But I'll go Chiefs to win this. I like the Broncos. I'm not picking the Broncos last. I'm going Raiders. Last year's second place team as the last team. Devontae Adams, okay, great pickup. But Josh McDaniels, even though I love him and I like the move, I just don't know in year 1 if he's going to turn this around as a head coach. Derek Carr, okay, he's good. I just don't see him winning that division or beating these other quarterbacks in this division. The offensive line, kind of iffy. I just think there's questions on this Raiders team more so than the others. They've got a good team, but I don't think they're as good as the other guys. Raiders to come in last.
All right. Well, I disagree. I'm Broncos last. Broncos last. If you look at the Raiders versus Broncos, they both got new coordinators, right? And I think everyone would say McDaniels is better than the Broncos' new head coach who came from the Packers. So there's the nod to the new head coach versus head coach. And
Okay.
now the Broncos have a new quarterback. So not only that, they're implementing a new system. Yes, the Raiders got Devontae Adams, but he played with him in college, Derek Carr did. So I'm not worried about that addition on offense. Broncos then lose Tim Patrick, right? So now they traded away Noah Fant. They're only have Jared Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. Their offensive line is questionable. I like Javonte Williams, but I just think there's a lot more question marks on the Broncos and how good is Russell Wilson actually? I don't know. I don't know right now because the last few seasons, he tends to decline. He's gotten injured a little bit. He's not showing MVP numbers like he was a few years ago. So I'm not sold on him as much as I am Derek Carr carrying the Raiders to many, many 500 seasons with mediocre to bad coaching. So give me the Raiders to finish third. Broncos, there's just too many questions for me at a lot of different levels. So Broncos to finish last.
Okay, T-Money, good picks right there. Nice picks. Closing it out here with this AFC predictions. T has the following to win the division. He has the Bills winning the East, the Chiefs winning the West. And I have that same. Bills winning the East, Chiefs winning the West. We differ on the other two. T-Money picks the Ravens in the North. G-Man picks the Bengals. And T-Money picks the Colts in the South. G-Man goes Titans. Hey, last year, the AFC best came out of that AFC North. The Bengals came up. They weren't ranked number one. Titans are ranked number one, but they had an easy division. Bengals come out of that 4 slot in the rankings of the AFC to get the win for the AFC championship and go on to the Super Bowl. All right, let's move on to the Chug and Chant. It's time for the Randy new Chug, our cousin Randy, the new Chugger this year. Where's he coming from? He's from a studio somewhere. Randy's doing some homework. Let's go to Randy for the Chug and Chat.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Cousin Randy with this week's Chug and Chant. And, you know, I'm always ready. You caught me perusing Beer Weekly here. But that's why I got one. Let's chug and chant. All right, Jets fans, I'm sorry. Zach Wilson, this might be your last year. You don't want to be stuck in old Daniel Jones territory, passing on guys like Justin Herbert because you got your guy when it turns out you don't. Zach Wilson last year was not impressive as a rookie. Justin Herbert was. Joe Burrow was. Kyler Murray was. Zach Wilson didn't even throw for 180 yards a game. The guy had more interceptions than he did touchdowns. 55% completion rate. No, this isn't going to do it. And if CJ Stroud's sitting on the board after another 4-win season, Jets fans, you got to be taking him and not Zach Wilson. He was a little iffy coming out of BYU, a little too cocky and over his, too big for his britches, but you got to pass on this guy if he doesn't have another good season. Need to see some growth here. G-Man, T-Money, what do you think? Jets should move on from Zach Wilson after another bad year. Give him a few more years and a longer runway.
Hey, Randy. Hey, I like that. Okay. That may not be good for Wilson at this team. We just talked about how the Jets might come in last in that East. And I think that shirt is hilarious. First of all, Nasty Natty's hilarious. 55% completion rate's not hilarious. Okay. Yeah. I kind of agree with you, man. There's a runway here, but if I had to pick from your last question, Randy, I say give him a few more years on that runway.
Yeah, I tend to lean that way too. Give him a few more years. But at the same time, a lot of these quarterbacks coming out this next year are going to be some of the best that have come out in the past 5 years. CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, there's a few other guys, Will Levis from Kentucky. There's a few other guys, names thrown around, but especially with the draft that was there last year with the guy in your background, Kenny Pickett. I don't think Kenny Pickett would have gone in the first or second round this upcoming season, this upcoming draft with how deep and good this draft class is. So watch out. I agree with Randy. You don't want to get caught in that Daniel Jones hole where you're like, well, I drafted him in the top 5. I might as well continue to give him chances. Like, I don't know, man. He's got hella weapons. So he should be able to perform at a good rate, but I tend to lean with you. I think if he doesn't perform after 3 years, okay, now we got to start looking at contingency plans because we're not going to give him that extension. Then he's going to be our quarterback at least for one more year on the 4th-year deal, blah, blah, blah. But I agree.
I agree too. Like I was saying earlier, in the NFL rundown, could be the coach that's the issue. We don't know that it is Wilson yet. Drafted 2nd overall. He was supposed to be the next Joe Namath. Joe Namath too. All the Jets fans are going crazy right now. They're so excited. They haven't won a Super Bowl since 1969. Ooh. They want Wilson to be the guy that takes him back. I think they're going to give him a little more time here to come around, and he could come around. But he could. They're going to have a rough road this year, I think. They were 4-13 last year.
I don't know how much better they're going to get.
And Zach Wilson's going to have to carry him. He's going to have to carry him all the way through all those. And I know he wants to, and he loves that. But last year they finished last in the AFC East, and it wasn't even close. And guess who their first game is in week 1? The Ravens. So they gotta get ready, man. They got to get ready. And so, hey, let's move on to the fantasy show. We're bringing up our fantasy show coming around this year again for our first fantasy show of the season. Let's kick that off next with our guest, Tarek Mezian. You fantasy team general managers, get ready. We're about to bring it to you here, 15 minutes with a big hitter in the fantasy world. You know him. We're going to jump right out of the gates with a special guest. It's kicking off the fantasy season with Tarek Mezian. Tarek has won 7 championships in the last 9 years. I believe that's correct. And he's won 5 league championships since he started playing in 2007. You've been in 7 championships. You won 5. And I don't think anyone listening outside of me, and maybe, I don't know if Team Money's won a league title like G-Man. Team Money's won a league title. But hey, man, more than that, we all love fantasy football. We're bringing it to you this year, man. One of the big fans of the show, Tarek Mezian. Welcome to the Father-Son Coast to Coast Hotline.
Thank you for having me. It's been awesome. We've had a pretty crazy season so far. Injuries left and right. People falling and rising, but just happy to be here. So let's get right into it.
Hey, we're excited to get your perspective because we got our drafts coming up, so we're looking for some knowledge to you. And we're going to focus today on the rookie rankings. Got some rookies coming out. We're going to cover quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers, if we can do it kind of in that order. Let's talk about how you rank these guys coming out, not only against each other, but how do they stack up against the guys that are already there? Where do I slot them in the draft? So let's kick it off first talking about the quarterbacks, okay? And, how you see I got one of them right behind me. This guy behind me. I got one of them right here. Yeah. What do you think about Pickett and maybe the other couple top ranked quarterbacks? Desmond Ridder, one of T's favorites, and Malik Willis. What do you think of those guys? Maybe some others.
So just as a quick overall with just my whole process, you can break it up into 4 major components. The first one is college production. The second one is testing numbers. The third thing is draft capital. And the final thing that I really factor in is where they end up, the whole team situation. So when it comes to these quarterbacks, there's not too much to honestly be excited about. I hate to break it to you. If you were in the dynasty community, you were drafting guys like Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett in the top 3. And then we had the NFL draft. And much to our dismay, the NFL does not feel as hyped up as we do on these quarterbacks. Even with Kenny Pickett, he fell all the way to the 20th pick in the first round. And then his counterparts in that same class, they fell to the 3rd round. So we can't get too overly excited, about these prospects when it comes to quarterbacks. But before the draft commenced, I did have Kenny Pickett as my number 1 quarterback in this class. He is very good when it comes to accuracy, which is one of the most important things for quarterbacks. But the only thing with him is that he is a 5th-year senior. His breakout age wasn't until much later. So we don't have much to go off with Kenny Pickett. I have a bet going on right now with somebody that I have Mitch Trubisky actually playing for most of the season. I'm not out on Mitch Trubisky yet. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but we can't get too excited about this quarterback class, unfortunately.
Hey, Kenny Pickett looked great over the weekend, man. That guy played the whole second half. He looked great. I was surprised how good that he looked.
He did look good, which is why I went from being completely out on him to now I'm about 50-50 on him. Because that situation, if he does get in, he's got the keys to a Ferrari. I mean, he's got a really good offense. So,
yep. What'd you say?
I tend to lean
now?
with you, Tarek, as well. That Mitch Trubisky is going to be the week 1 starter. I think supposedly Kenny's not performing in practice as much, but is playing well, when he gets game time. So he's kind of, he seems to live up to the competition, is what everyone's saying. But I agree. I don't know how fantasy relevant he's going to be year 1, just as a rookie and with a bad offensive line potentially. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm on Mitch Trubisky. I actually like him and his ability to run the ball as well. Might have some sort of like QB2 option there in fantasy.
My final verdict, don't draft him.
Yeah.
Don't even bother drafting him. He's not going to be a top 24 quarterback. I'd rather take a flyer on Mitch Trubisky. So that's
all right. Hey, let's jump over to the running backs. Everybody loves running backs, man. Yeah. And everyone's got different kinds of drafts where maybe they have keepers or they don't have keepers. What do you think? Where do these rookies stand out here? Look at Breece Hall's probably ranked the highest, going to the New York Jets. And then we got some others. So what do you think of the running backs?
So pre-draft process, if you look just purely at their tested numbers, their college production, I had Kenneth Walker 1 point ahead of Breece Hall. I had him pretty much neck and neck. But almost everyone, people were saying, oh, they have Breece Hall by a country mile over anyone else that's close. That's not what it came out to me. And then seeing Kenneth Walker in his first game, he looked amazing. Now, unfortunately, you can't draft Kenneth Walker anymore because it just came out that he probably most likely has a sports hernia.
Yeah.
That is the same injury that Rashad Bateman had. And that is a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks out. So it's pretty heartbreaking. I was pretty excited about Kenneth Walker. But when it comes to a lot of these running backs, the thing that we have to keep into account is that many of them went to not so great teams. And what you ideally want for a rookie running back or just any running back in general, most of the top running backs in fantasy football are in top 10 offenses. They have really good quarterbacks, and they're behind really good offensive lines. Unfortunately, for most of these running backs, that is not the situation that we have.
That's true. I mean, look at Breece Hall. People are like, oh, he's going to get 15 to 20 touches, but if he only gets 1 yard and 15 to 20 touches, it doesn't get many points.
Yeah, and it's like, how many times we have to really temper expectations, because you would have to, in order to be a fantasy viable running back on the Jets, they would have to go from a bottom offense to just a mid-range offense. And that's a lot to ask for a team in just 1 year span time. We don't know what their quarterback situation is going to look like now that Zach Wilson's hurt. And also, too, I still like Michael Carter. So Breece Hall, I do not think is going to come in and
Mekhi Becton's out for the year.
Yeah, that's true too. So their line situation has gotten worse. So when it comes to guys like him, I'm tempering my expectations. I want maybe one share in a couple different leagues that I'm doing of Breece Hall, of James Cook. With James Cook, he's in a very limited role. He was one of my best tested running backs, but he's probably only going to be a pass catching running back.
Yeah.
So how viable is that? For Damian Pierce, he's one of my favorite running backs. He was top 10 for me before the draft, but he went to the Texans. They're not going to score probably a lot of points. They're probably going to be very behind. They don't have a fantastic offensive line. Same thing with Tyler Algier, one of my favorite running backs coming out. It's been a while since we've had a very good Falcons running back. There's a couple later names that I'm more interested in. Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson.
I was going to ask you about Isaiah. That was
Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, wow. What do you think about him? I've heard a lot of rumblings. He looks like the best running back in Kansas City right now.
So He has been killing it in training camp. If you look at his testing numbers, he has amazing speed. Kansas City has a great offensive line and a great offense. However, though, we have to temper expectations. He is a 7th-round running back. He was picked 30th overall in that 7th round. We have never had in the history of the NFL, or at least of the last 20 years that I looked at, a fantasy viable running back that was a rookie that was picked in the 7th round. He would have to literally be a unicorn. So I have no idea what to do with him. His college production was so minuscule, I didn't even bother grading him when I looked into him. So he would have to be an extreme outlier. Brian Robinson, he's a later round running back that you can keep your eye on. That whole situation in Washington is pretty insane. If
Antonio Gibson gets hurt again, maybe Robinson gets in there.
I think it might be just him falling more out of favor with the coaching staff. Antonio Gibson is a good running back. He, outperformed all these different. There's a lot of negative narratives that are going on with Antonio Gibson, but you have to read the tea leaves. So Brian Robinson did not test out very well in my pre-draft rankings, but he's getting the opportunities. And if you just get him within 10 yards of the end zone, then that's all you really need sometimes, just for a flex-worthy play. And then with Zamir White, he's someone I'm also keeping my eye on as well. He can
Las
only
Vegas.
Yeah, with Las Vegas. He can only run the ball. He's not a dual threat. You ideally want someone that can do both things on your fantasy team, but he is what it is. So
all right.
That's all I can say about the running backs, though. It's a little bit better than the quarterback situation, but not much better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, T-Money, unless you had something, we're going to roll over to the – okay, let's go to the wide receivers. We got some big-time wide receivers here. Tarek, come on, man. You've shot us down on the quarterbacks and running backs. Do we have some wide receivers that you're going to get us excited about the draft and the upcoming fantasy draft, man? What about Drake London or Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson? Come on, man. Tell me that you love one of these guys.
We absolutely nailed it. It was a collective week that we got Jamar Chase right last year. No, everyone else was killing him for dropping camp. And then
you called that. You were all over that.
I'm going to give us all the credrit for that.
Yeah, thank you. All three of us.
Yes, all three of us got that. So there's at least one Bengals fan in here, right? So there you go. Now, when it comes to the wide receivers, I'm a lot more positive on them. Drake London, if you love Michael Pittman, if you love Amon-Ra St. Brown, there was a guy named Drake London that when all three of them were at USC, he was the wide receiver one. He had a young breakout age. The way that he's just built, he's very different than Jamar Chase as far as being built. He's much more of an alpha as far as just his build goes. A lot of people were knocking him where he can't separate, but separation, that happens on multiple different areas of the route. And he is a very good separator. He catches everything that comes to him. Now, the only thing with him is just like, how good is that Falcons offense going to be? But between him and just Pitts and them being the only show in town, Drake London deserves to be drafted where he's at right now in the 70s. I would feel very comfortable with him as my wide receiver 3, maybe my wide receiver 2. I want running back heavy. So I think you can feel confident about Drake London. He won't touch Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase last year. Let's just temper our expectations. He's not going to do that. But the other guys that I feel very confident about that I want to that I'm actively targeting, Skye Moore and Chris Olave.
Go for Skye Moore.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with Skye Moore and Chris Olave, the number one thing with both of them is that they're already coming in as elite route runners. One guy who I highly respect in this industry, he's been doing it for a long time, Matt Harmon with Reception Perception. He's worked with Yahoo for many, many years. There's no one better when it comes to scouting wide receivers, and both of them are two of his favorites as well. And when it comes to just winning on the route, that's all you really need to do besides learning the offense. So that's the only thing that's going to hold some of these guys back is being able to learn the offense. Skye Moore had some injuries in camp, but he's been killing it. So I want a wide receiver that's attached to Patrick Mahomes. What do you guys feel?
T, what do you think about that, T?
Yeah, I love Skye Moore. The opportunities there with so many guys leaving.
Yeah.
So
right.
Juju is going to be up and down. I think he's going to have a wide receiver one few weeks and then a few weeks where he's a no-show. That just seems to be his trajectory now and coming, off injuries. I don't know if I can trust him. But Chris Olave, I'm a little nervous about him because I don't know which Jameis to expect and Michael Thomas and
which Michael Thomas to expect.
And so there's might be a little more competition for that ball down there. And I don't know if they're going to go run heavy with Kamara and now that Dennis Allen's the head coach. Just a lot of question marks with Chris Olave more for me than there is Skye Moore. I think the opportunity is just plentiful for Skye Moore right now.
We do have to remember, though, the last time that Jameis Winston was healthy, he supported not one, but two number one wide receivers in fantasy football with Godwin and with Jameis Winston. So that does give me a glimmer of hope. I'm very intrigued about the Saints offense. Alvin Kamara, I actually have as a sneaky running back number one overall for me. That's my dark horse candidate for being the running back. Now that especially he might not get suspended either, but Olave, he's coming in as a better route runner than anyone else in this class. And I think he's already going to be elite. And that's all you can really ask for. And he can beat people at every level of the field, he's not limited at whatsoever. So that's why I'm very hopeful with Olave.
Hey, Tarek, working our way to the finish here. Appreciate all this. I want to ask you a quick question about your rankings. T-Rock's your handle, man.
Yeah.
T-Rock, you put out your own rankings every year, and we like that. But talk about, I looked at your rankings, and you have some guys that are fades and faves. And I looked at the Green Bay receivers, and you got them all as fades. So I'm just wondering, who do you think is going to emerge out of that Green Bay wide receiving core? Doesn't that look like you don't think anybody is?
Yeah, because I don't like raising players up just because of opportunity. Like you hear that argument all the time. You hear the argument about vacated targets. There's going to have to be somebody. But here's the thing, though. They still have to go up against NFL defenses. I'm not going to raise up Allen Lazard, who has never been more than a decent number two, but mostly number three wide receiver, just because there's no one else there. And then I can't stand it when people say, well, Aaron Rodgers said he's the number one there. I'm like, well, what do you expect Aaron Rodgers to say? Is he going to trash his? Oh, it's just like, no, that's not going to happen.
He's already trashing, and he's already saying he doesn't have the receivers. He's already complaining in the press about the receivers already.
Yeah, exactly. I want to say Christian Watson. Christian Watson was one of my highest rated rookies coming into this class. His testing numbers are insane. The only thing is, though, is that Aaron Rodgers does not, he doesn't even look at people until it's year three, If they have to go through it and stuff like that. The number one wide receiver I want on Green Bay is Aaron Jones, and that is it.
Yes.
That's the only wide receiver I want. Romeo Doubs, I think, he's going to be this year's Terrace Marshall, I think. I think he's going to fool a lot of people. The only routes that he's winning on are those go routes, those deep bombs and stuff like that. So unless you're going to be MVS, that is too volatile for me. And he didn't test very well. He wasn't drafted very highly. So I would fade everything on the Green Bay offense except A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones.
Yeah. Well, I got to ask you one question about my guy, Alec Pierce. All right. A leaked roster from the Colts had him as wide receiver one, actually, in camp. I don't know if that was a typo. Over
trying to get the Bearcats up.
I'm just saying, I got to know your thoughts on Alec Pierce. Like, is he going to be fantasy worthy? Do you think does he have the talent in your scorecard? What do you think?
So I sent this a couple of minutes before we got on to G-Man. On my bullish side, right under Chris Olave, is Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is one of the highest rated rookie wide receivers that I have.
I love it.
I am extremely excited. It just goes to show, like, I feel very good about my process when people don't have these wide receivers rated really high, and then you start hearing in camp, oh, this guy's
They're killing it. Yeah.
he's killing it and stuff like that. So it makes me feel good about my process. He was one of my top wide receivers coming out. I think him and Matt Ryan, and I think maybe between him and Paris Campbell, they're gonna split shares and stuff like that. It's gonna be mainly Michael Pittman, but you have to have 2 wide receivers. So I feel very high about Alec Pierce, and in a similar regard, I feel good about Tyquan Thornton as well. So
Hey,
Great.
Tarek, well, we have about 30 seconds left. Tarek, appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah.
Tell our fans how they can find you, how they can follow you. Where should they find you at?
So you can follow me on Twitter at trock5220. And that's it. I have a running series called Dynasty Discernment. My main focus with that is to help some of the newcomers, some of the newbies when it comes to fantasy football and dynasty. So yeah.
There
That's
you go,
awesome.
all those fantasy managers.
Love
TRock5220 on Twitter. Tarek, thanks for coming on to the Father Son Coast to Coast Hotline. Best of luck to you in the fantasy league this year.
Yeah. Thank you. Good luck to you guys as well. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much. We'll see you later.
See ya.
Hey,
All right.
T-Money. Hey, great to have Tarek, man. Gosh, what a knowledge. He does so much work.
Yeah.
His stats and everything he does. And I love his little system that he looks at 4 things: college production, testing numbers, draft capital, and the team situation. That's pretty smart.
Mm-hmm. I love it. The guy knows his stuff. It's great talking with him, reaffirming most of the things I already knew, obviously, those are but no, he's so knowledgeable. He's got his own rankings that are, clearly he is very knowledgeable, and love having him on. He's a smart guy.
Hey, we got another segment for all of you fans out there. We're going to surprise T-Money here as we wrap up our fantasy show. Let's debate, T-Money, the 3 top fantasy battles in the NFL so far. This is out of Bleacher Report. I'm taking the top 3 fantasy battles. Okay. I'm going to ask you what you think, man. Number 1 is what I just asked Tarek, that Green Bay receiving course. And number 1 issue, we got Lazard, Randall Cobb, Sammy Watkins, Christian Watson. Who do you think is going to emerge out of those 4?
Like he said, I don't want any of them, but I'll take Randall Cobb just because of the history, I guess. I'll take my last pick in the draft. I don't want anything to do with him.
Okay, let's go to number 2. Number 2 is the Kansas City Chiefs receivers. Juju Smith. We got MVS. We got Skye Moore and McCole Hardman. Who do you like coming out of that group?
I really am high on Juju. I think that I think there's a big chance he could easily be a wide receiver 2, maybe a wide receiver 1. Like, the targets are there and available for him to be elite this year. He's proven he can be a wide receiver 1 when he was with Pittsburgh, and that was with Antonio Brown, who will be Travis Kelce, right? Travis Kelce will take all of the first level targets. So I think Skye Moore is going to take a little while to get in there. MVS is just a streaker. So give me Juju stock all day. I'm high on him.
I've heard some good things about Juju in camp, but he looked so bad last year at times. I don't know what it was.
I just think Big Ben was horrible. He had a bad season. They had a bad offensive line, so it took him a while to even get the ball out. And Ben wasn't throwing any further than 10 yards down the field. So what are you going to do? I think that's the outlier. I'm high on him.
Okay. Last one, one of the top fantasy battles right now in the NFL so far, the Jacksonville Jags running back situation. We got Travis Etienne, James Robinson. What do you think, man? What's going to emerge here?
Etienne is the stock to buy all day. He's the most talented of them. He's the best pass catcher. He was, like Tarek said, he has a first-round draft capital. I'm really high on him, and used in both the passing, as a receiver and as a running back. I think Robinson's going to be maybe the starter, but Etienne's going to eat into it and be the long-term value there for sure, especially in dynasty leagues. You want Etienne stock all day. I think Etienne will be a RB2 for sure this year.
Hey, everybody don't forget, though, James Robinson has done it before. RB7 in 2020 as a rookie and then just fell out of favor, got injured. But he has proven he can do it. ETN looks like he's the better player and has the upside, but he hasn't done it yet. But yeah, I respect that, T-Money. Hey, let's wrap this thing up for the Father, Son, and Holy Sports podcast. We hope you're loving it. If you love the show like we love you, press that like and subscribe. If you want to be a guest on the show, reach out to us and look for us on all the platforms at Father, Son, and Holy Sport. Or you can check out our website, get some merchandise, baby. Get ready for the season with some Father, Son, Holysport.com merchandise. On behalf of T-Money, I'm G-Man. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you. Peace.